Hello everyone. It's wonderful to see you all again. We appreciate your presence with us today. We have a captivating tale to unfold, so let us dive in. My name is Julian, and one lesson life has imparted to me is that embracing responsibility does not guarantee a seamless journey. My wife, Camille, and I shared a meaningful connection in our marriage. There's a delicate balance, a gentle rhythm to it all, neither flawless nor disastrous. Though we faced our share of differences, we found a way to hold onto each other, weaving our connection even tighter. That was until she mentioned her Kyle. That conversation transformed everything. One evening, Camille approached me, her expression filled with worry. She shared with me that Kyle had lost his home and found himself without a place to turn. He had been moving from one friend's couch to another, and she hoped he would find solace with us for a while, just until he regained his footing. The instant her words danced into the air, I felt a deep certainty about my response. No, unadorned and straightforward. She found herself unexpectedly surprised. She believed I would agree simply to please her, yet I couldn't bring myself to welcome chaos into my sanctuary. Kyle was enveloped in a shadow of misfortune. He was the architect of his own struggles. The man indulged in his desires, pouring his resources into every shimmering trend that caught his eye, lost in the moment and unaware of what the future might hold. This was not his first departure, and if the past had imparted any wisdom, it surely would not be his final one. Whenever his funds dwindled, a softer side of him emerged, revealing a more understanding nature. Yet, the moment he held the cash, it was as if a wild abandon took over, leading to impulsive choices and a carefree disregard for responsibility. I shared those very thoughts with Camille. I expressed to her that allowing Kyle into our space would mean he would become a lasting presence, not just a fleeting visitor. He was lingering, a presence that felt both comforting and profound. I had been there for him, offering guidance in hopes of inspiring better decisions, yet he remained unchanged. The moments when Kyle transformed were those when he found himself without an option. If he were to join us, that option would no longer exist. He would find a warm refuge, nourishing meals, and my wife supporting him at every turn. I refused to allow that to unfold. Camille was captivated. She was taken aback by my refusal. For her, it was merely a fleeting connection, a moment of kinship where family extended a hand to one another. She began to unleash a torrent of words, labeling me as harsh, selfish, and uncaring. She continued to express that my feelings about her brother staying for a few weeks were unwarranted, as if I had committed some sort of offense. Yet I remained steadfast. I didn't mean to be unkind. I was grounded in reality. That was the moment when the true struggle unfolded. Camille held on, her feelings lingering in the air. The following days enveloped me in a chilling embrace, a stark reminder of the distance that lingered in the air. Her words were few, often circling back to Kyle, as if he lingered between us like an uninvited guest. In moments when her silence enveloped us, there were times she would express her feelings through subtle jabs, weaving in passive-aggressive remarks, and reacting intensely to the smallest of matters. I believed she would eventually wear herself down. Yet a week later, her energy remained unwavering. As I stepped through the door one evening, weariness enveloped me, and the atmosphere in the house felt heavy, almost palpable. The moment I stepped inside, I felt the weight of a decision before me, to continue this struggle or to surrender to the pull of what lay ahead. And in that fleeting moment, I made a choice that would linger in my heart. I exhaled softly, gazing at her, and finally relented, saying, "Fine, your brother can stay." Her expression transformed completely. The chill melted away. In an instant, she enveloped me with her warmth, her smile bright and inviting. As she embraced and kissed me tenderly, it felt as though a gentle spark ignited within me. As she clung to me, her voice laced with relief, I sensed an undercurrent of something deeper. An overwhelming sensation settles within me, stirring emotions that linger just beneath the surface. It felt as though I had just stepped into a realm that would forever change me, an invitation to a journey I could never turn back from. And I knew it all along. When Kyle first arrived, A wave of uncertainty washed over me, yet I held on to the hope that reality would unfold in a way that defied my initial fears. In those initial days, a gentle harmony enveloped everything. He often preferred solitude, and Camille felt a warm sense of contentment with her brother's presence nearby. I thought that if he truly wanted to rise again, he would begin his search for work in no time. Yet, it wasn't long before the true issue began to reveal itself to me. Each evening, as I returned from the day's toil, I would discover Kyle in his familiar repose, comfortably settled in the living room, his feet resting on the couch, absorbed in his phone or lost in the flickering images of the television. It was of no consequence whether I stepped out into the world at dawn or returned under the cover of night. He lingered in that familiar place, a constant presence that stirred something deep within. The refrigerator, perpetually sought after. What about the dishes, piled gently in the sink? He seemed distant, offering no help, not even with the simplest of tasks around the house. I gently encouraged him toward the right path, hoping to create the impression that I was offering him a genuine opportunity. So Kyle, have you had any success in your job search? One evening, I posed my question to him. He hardly lifted his gaze from his phone, a playful smirk dancing on his lips as he replied, "Do I truly need to work?" As though the very thought was absurd. The response resonated with me in a way I hadn't anticipated. He was navigating a deeper journey, one that went beyond the mere search for employment. He felt no desire for it. Initially, I believed he merely required a bit of assistance. With a gentle nudge, I opened doors for him, linking him to various job opportunities, including some effortless positions within my own company. He didn't take a moment to reflect on them. Instead, he chuckled softly and waved them away, expressing that those roles were simply not suited for him. I'm immersed in something significant, and I seek to embrace focus without interruptions. Yet, I perceived no grand ambitions or visions, only a veil of indolence cloaked in an air of significance. In the meantime, his indulgent ways continued unabated. Though his pockets were empty, he always seemed to find a way to indulge in takeout, fresh sneakers, and the newest gadgets that caught his eye. In that moment, the pattern unveiled itself to me. He was holding back his resources. He was cherishing Janice. She began to offer him money whenever he requested it, and in moments when her resources fell short, she sought my assistance. "Darling, Kyle just requires a bit to tide him over," she would say, as if my concerns were unfounded. When I gently suggested that he was turning away perfectly good opportunities, she let out a dismissive laugh. "Allow the young soul to find his breath. He doesn't possess the same essence as you. He possesses a unique charm." I realized that Camille's intentions went beyond merely assisting her brother. She was nurturing his desires. Despite my efforts to guide her toward understanding, she remained steadfast in her refusal to acknowledge the reality before us. One morning, I found myself at the dining table, cradling my coffee, as I gently navigated through my emails, seeking to center my thoughts for the day that lay before me. Camille moved gracefully in the kitchen, a soft melody escaping her lips, while Kyle lounged on the couch, lost in the glow of his phone, as he often did. The morning held its usual calm until Kyle rose and approached me with an intensity that shifted the air around us. This time, he refrained from asking Camille for money. He offered no sweet words or feeble justifications. He lingered in the doorway, arms crossed, his voice steady as he said, "I need your credit card to make a payment." I hardly lifted my gaze. "What is the purpose of this?" He let out a deep sigh, as though my presence was a distraction from something more important. "This is urgent." I had a sense of what lay ahead. What type of urgent situation is at hand? He cast a weary glance, as if my actions were a deliberate challenge. "I simply crave it. I promise to return what I owe you." I released a brief, mirthless chuckle. "Kyle, you seem to be at a crossroads right now. In what way do you intend to repay me?" In that moment, his demeanor transformed. He sat up with newfound energy, and his voice took on a more intense edge. "Please, let's not complicate things. Please lend me your support if you choose to." I placed my coffee gently on the table and held his gaze for a lingering moment. He spoke with a sincerity that left no room for doubt. In his thoughts, I was bound to fulfill this obligation. I gently shook my head, a soft sigh escaping my lips. No. Kyle glanced at Camille, anticipating her to take the lead, and she surrendered to the moment. Camille swept out of the kitchen, her expression a mix of passion and disbelief. Is this for real at this moment? She broke free. It's merely a card, Julian. What has brought about this change in your behavior? I turned to her, my mind swirling as I absorbed the weight of her words. Do you really believe I should simply offer my credit card without understanding the reason, just because he claims it's urgent? Camille let out a soft, dismissive sound. Oh, so now you have doubts about my brother? I remained silent. I found no reason to. In a swift, impulsive gesture, Camille seized the steaming coffee mug from the table and sent it flying toward me. There was no moment to respond. The warm liquid cascaded over my face, enveloping my skin and seeping into my shirt. A deep ache coursed through me, yet I remained still. I spoke softly. I refrained from using any harsh words. I found myself lost in her gaze, captivated by the moment. The warmth enveloping me pales in comparison to the chill of understanding that has taken root in my heart. Camille's eyes sparkled with a fleeting surprise. Perhaps she hadn't anticipated this moment, yet she regained her composure swiftly, folding her arms, embodying the essence of a wounded soul. You're so selfish, Julian, she said, her voice trembling with a mix of frustration and longing. You believe that all must unfold according to your desires. You believe you stand apart from the rest. I gently dabbed my face with the napkin at my side, enveloped in a quiet moment. A change stirred within me, a profound connection, a sense of closure. In that moment, I found myself lost in a realization that silenced everything around me. I had reached my limit. I lingered in the quiet, holding my breath until they finally stepped out of the door. Camille is likely lost in the rhythm of her errands, while Kyle drifts away to unknown places, seeking solace in the company of others. I made my way to the bedroom, gently picked up a small bag, and carefully selected only the essentials I desired to take with me. A few garments, essential papers, my laptop, and the charger for my phone. What about the rest? They were welcome to embrace it. I had no intention of returning. Before departing, I delicately removed a page from the notepad resting on the kitchen counter and inscribed a solitary sentence. I have departed. It's time for both of you to step away from this place. I placed the note on the dining table, gently resting it beside Camille's half-empty coffee mug. As Camille and Kyle returned that evening, I can picture them discovering the note, their eyes meeting in a shared moment, followed by a gentle eruption of laughter that filled the air with warmth. They might have believed I was merely playing a game, presenting yet another of my earnest moments that Camille consistently dismissed. She likely believed I would return to her, or that a few days later, she could reach out, feign some sorrow, and I would simply let go of it all. Yet this moment felt unique. I had reached my limit. The first action I took upon arriving at my new place was to sever our financial ties. I opened my banking apps and began the process of closing everything down. All the accounts she once held were now locked away, leaving her in a state of uncertainty. All the cards at her disposal were rendered unusable, ceasing all automatic transfers to her personal account. The days of boundless indulgence at my cost have come to an end. Unbeknownst to her, the moment of ease had quietly slipped away. Yet that was merely the dawn of something deeper. The home we shared? It didn't even belong to me. In a sense, it was never truly mine. It was my company that took the initiative. And that organization? It felt like it belonged to someone else. A fleeting moment that slipped through my fingers. It was guided by the careful hands of my family trust, rooted in distant shores. While I resided there, Camille always found a welcoming space to call her own. But now that I had departed, the company possessed every legal entitlement to reclaim the property. She was unaware that she was not merely letting me go. She felt the weight of impending loss, as if the very shelter that cradled her was slipping away. Camille never reached out to me after I departed, not even to inquire about my whereabouts. She believed that silence could serve as her form of punishment for me. But then, when she became aware that she had been financially severed, a profound shift occurred within her. Her initial message carried no hint of regret. It was an intense surge of emotion, a barrage of words, each one laced with disdain, painting a vivid picture of contempt and harsh judgment. Your presence leaves much to be desired. Your actions reflect a certain self-centeredness. This choice may linger in your thoughts. That was everything I longed to witness. She seemed to move on without a thought of my presence. She longed for the way of life. Just a few days later, she received the unexpected news. The weight of divorce papers and an eviction notice from the company hangs heavily in the air. When she received them, a soft laughter escaped her lips. Whispers surrounded me, suggesting that she hardly took a moment to linger over the documents before letting them slip away from her grasp. She believed it was merely a playful jest, a teasing facade, as if I would retreat and undo everything. She remained unaware of the profound depths she had stirred within me. Yet, the world moves forward, indifferent to our moments of slumber. The moment the eviction deadline arrived, it marked the end of hope, leaving no room for second chances. Camille and Kyle found themselves standing at the threshold, the weight of their belongings in their arms, the world outside beckoning with uncertainty. And that's when the deeper feelings of vulnerability truly emerged. They find themselves without shelter. The flow of abundance has come to a halt. With no options left, Camille found herself parting with her cherished jewelry, a bittersweet sacrifice for her survival. Even then, she remained unwavering in her resolve. In that moment, she took a final, heartfelt step forward. She led me into the realm of justice. She sensed a deep yearning to claim the abundance she felt was rightfully hers. Yet, she remained blissfully unaware of the intricacies of finances. On the surface, I appeared to be without means. My treasures, confined within the embrace of corporations and trusts, untouched by the hands of fate. The judge glanced at the figures, and in an instant, she turned away, leaving with an emptiness that lingered in the air. No reward, no recompense, the heavy burden of her own legal obligations. For the first time in her life, Camille found herself confronting the weight of her decisions. Without a cushion to fall back on, there is no alternative in sight. It was just her and Kyle, navigating the world together, bound by an unspoken connection. In the days following the divorce ruling, Camille had poured her heart into every effort to connect with me. Whispers, messages left in the air, waiting to be heard. I turned away from them all. Words eluded me in her presence. She had embraced her decisions, and now she must navigate the path they had carved for her. Yet, she found herself unwilling to release her grip. One morning, as I was finding my rhythm at work, my office door swung open unexpectedly. It was the woman I once shared my life with. Camille felt a thrill as her assistant's protests lingered in the air, but she remained unfazed. She entered with a fierce intensity, and then, in that intimate moment within my office, she gracefully lowered herself to her knees. "Julian, please," she whispered through her tears. "I find myself without a place to turn. There's a solitude that envelopes me, a quiet longing for connection." Her tears flowed without restraint. Her shoulders trembled softly. "I recognize the missteps I've taken. I understand that I caused you pain. But please hold on to the cherished moments. Recall the connection we shared." Her voice trembled. "Hold on to it all." I reclined in my chair, my gaze fixed on her. All traces of anger had faded away. Embrace the lightness. There is only acceptance. Only a chill of indifference. "You lost me the moment you chose to disregard my feelings," I expressed, my voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Pouring coffee over my face because of your brother's shortcomings? That was quite difficult to bear. Yet, bringing me before the court?" I gently shook my head, a soft gesture filled with unspoken feelings. That was the ultimate moment of impact. Camille's lips parted, a silent invitation hanging in the air. Yet no words found their way out. She felt the truth resonate within her. I gently pressed the intercom button on my desk. Protection. My tone was steady, unwavering. Guide her gently to the door. Her presence will linger, but she shall not come back. Her breath caught in her throat. Julian, please, she murmured, extending her hand toward me. Yet I remained still. I felt indifferent. 2 security guards stepped into the room, their presence filling the space with an unspoken tension. She glanced at them, then returned her gaze to me, a deep yearning reflected in her eyes. Yet, silence lingered between us, heavy with unspoken words. She surrendered gracefully. She simply accepted it. She surrendered to their gentle embrace, allowing them to elevate her from the ground. As they guided her to the door, she glanced back one final time, her expression heavy with longing. Yet, longing could not mend what once was. She felt the door gently close behind her, and in an instant, she vanished from my sight. Reflecting on it now, I realized there were signs I should have noticed. From the very beginning, the hints were unmistakable. I simply couldn't bring myself to accept their words. I longed to trust that my wife, the one I chose to share my life with, would prioritize our union above all else. Yet, if there's a single truth I've come to understand, it's this. Always pay attention to the signs that beckon for your awareness. Camille often prioritized Kyle's desires above all else. Yet I reassured myself that it was not a significant concern. I found solace in the belief that she would ultimately set a boundary. I acknowledge my mistake. The instant she splashed that coffee across my face for a man who wouldn't lift a finger for himself, I realized then that I would never hold a place of importance in her heart. And if you find yourself in a moment where your partner turns their gaze toward another, be honest with your heart. It's just a fleeting moment before they reveal the depths of your true place in their world. Another poignant reality? Allowing someone to take advantage of your kindness can lead to the unraveling of the warmth and comfort in your space. Kyle possessed a certain languid charm. He carried an air of entitlement. He turned away from work, dismissed chances, and anticipated wealth to come to him effortlessly. Yet the true issue lay not with Kyle. It was Camille, a name that stirred something deep within. She stood by him, nurturing his fantasies, and even turned against me when I declined to fund his way of life. That's the risk of empowering someone in that way. It resonates deeply within them. It taints the very essence of all that surrounds them. It transformed my sanctuary into a place of conflict. And if you allow someone like that into your life, believe me, they will drain your essence before they even consider finding their own strength. Let's delve into a topic often overlooked until the moment has passed: safeguarding your financial well-being. People often revel in discussions of love and trust, yet when challenges arise, financial matters can ignite conflict. If I hadn't arranged my assets as I did, Camille would have taken everything from me. She believed she could lead me into a legal battle and emerge with a portion of all that we had shared. Yet, in the eyes of the law, I found myself in a state of emptiness. On the surface, I appeared to possess nothing. That was intentional. That was a moment of anticipation. The dwelling? Not for me. The funds? Entangled in a web of trusts and corporations, she found herself unable to reach what she desired. Some may perceive that as distant, but allow me to pose this question to you. Do you believe Camille had love on her mind when she sought to take everything from me? Embrace your own well-being. For the one you choose to share your life with today could very well become the one who seeks to unravel your world tomorrow. Ultimately, the most profound lesson of all is that respect holds immense significance. When it's lost, the bond fades away. The moment Camille chose to disregard my feelings, the bond we shared began to unravel. The warmth of the coffee against my skin? That was the moment I embraced it fully. Yet, the reality is, her disregard for me had begun long before that moment. Overlooking my choices, ridiculing my feelings. That was the true heartache. Marriage has the strength to endure many challenges. Once the bond of respect begins to fade, everything changes. And when it reaches its conclusion, you must turn and leave. What has become of Camille and Kyle in this moment? To be truthful, I'm uncertain. And it doesn't matter to me. She could be lost in a sea of regret or perhaps still casting shadows of blame in my direction for the path her life has taken. Perhaps Kyle has finally discovered the art of nurturing his own spirit. Or he discovered another unsuspecting soul to draw from. It holds no significance. They no longer hold a place in my heart. Yet, if you glean one thing from my tale, let it be this. Be attentive to the subtle cues around you. Keep unwelcome influences at bay. And never allow anyone to diminish your sense of self-worth. If this story resonates with you, please take a moment to share it with someone who might find comfort in its message. Believe me, many souls are navigating their way into the very same snare I have just escaped.